Welcome to Glocal Voices, the official podcast of the Center for Socially Engaged Theatre at the University of Regina.
Hi, my name is Taiwo Afolabi, the host of Glocal Voices. Welcome to Glocal Voices at IDIERI 2025 at UBC Live and Direct. Today we're talking to Dr. Laura McEntee. And really exciting conversation today, and I want to shout out to Gabriel and Caleb and Walter and Shola, all the folks behind the scene. Thanks for making this happen with me. So in the next few minutes, Laura and I are going to be talking about her research. And before I ask Laura a question, just want Laura to fully introduce herself. So over to you. Position yourself, Laura. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. So my name is Laura McEntee and I am a teacher educator in Mary Immaculate College in the University of Limerick in Ireland. So I'm not really sure what time it is right now. I'm a little bit jet lagged because we're 8 hours behind. But I work on the Bachelor of Education programs in Mary Immaculate College. So essentially I work with mostly primary teachers in their initial teacher education. So I was a primary school teacher myself for 15 years, always very interested in the drama space. I don't think there was a year that I was working as a teacher where I wasn't in education myself. I've always been kind of practitioner research based because I went from my postgrad to my master's to my PhD while I was teaching. And then I joined the faculty in Mary I in 2023. So, and that's when I finished my doctorate looking at the role of drama in education, specifically within the Irish curriculum and the Irish context. And the project I'm looking at today was a project that I did with my students in Mary Immaculate College in their drama ed lectures.
Amazing. So with your background as an educator and your research, I wanted to speak to, and this goes to the research you're interested in talking about, the AI. Like how can AI generated content enhance creativity in education? Where's the
connection?
What's the connection,
Yeah.
and what have you learned through that research?
So everybody is obviously in this really brand new space where we don't know how to navigate this too in terms of our learning context at HEIs in higher education. So huge opportunities, and I'm really excited as to what AI can do for us and is already doing for us. But specifically in my context, the challenges is going to be ethical work, originality, the students still learning and not just generating AI outputs and submitting that as their work. So it's kind of all that space. So what I really wanted students to do was to critically look at the two and see what it can achieve and what it cannot achieve, and to use those boundaries then for their own learning. And everything I do is practitioner based. I workshop all the time, so I don't have traditional lectures where I'd have hundreds of students listening to me talk. It'd be smaller groups, preferably 30 or under, and we would work in a practical space, and it's usually through the drama lens. And in this particular project, I wanted them to get an AI output, whichever one they wanted. Most of them chose ChatGPT to write a script. And then with that script, they had to perform it with puppets, so put on a puppet show for children. So they had to give ChatGPT really specific prompts in terms of age, genre, the classroom they're going to be teaching, the topic they wanted to leave out. They had to put character input in and see what ChatGPT would give them. But that was kind of the third or fourth phase of the project. The first phase was just to drama workshop with the puppets. So they all had puppets, and they had to introduce their puppet, give their character name and identity, move around the room with their puppets, and that naturally developed tension, and tension is one of the elements on the arts curriculum in Ireland. So from getting their puppets to talk, they developed tension. So the storyline that kind of already developed by talking to each other, they then inputted all of that into ChatGPT, and to see what ChatGPT would give them in terms of bringing this together in a storyline in a coherent way.
Interesting. There's a new research coming out that speaks about over-dependency on this technology and how they make our brain dummy and different things like that. What are the tensions and challenges that you face doing this kind of work, particularly with the very young children, young audience, and the children that you work with?
Okay, so I got loads of feedback. So from the workshops, the students were given voluntary surveys, and they could participate in it if they wanted or not wanted to. It had nothing to do with their grade or anything. And I got 110 responses. And the majority of the responses said that they wouldn't use this approach with young children. And they just straight off the bat said that young children are way more creative, and we would block their creativity by letting them use an output like this. So I was really happy with that. Now, I'm not really worried about the student teachers using ChatGPT with their own students. I'm worried about how they would use it for their assignments and for their lesson planning and all that kind of stuff. So that was the focus I was really coming from. But I was interested to see, would they use it? And they said that in class, they liked using it because it was quick. It gave them a quick script, the output saved time, but long term, students wouldn't benefit from using something like that because they have to learn how to write, they have to learn how to be creative, and by using a tool like AI or ChatGPT, you do block that development of their brain or their literacy skills, and which that has to be developed. So I was happy that they straight off the bat all said, this is not for young children, but it was more the adult lens that I was focused on.
So that's interesting. And then what's the implication of that on the curriculum? Like you were talking earlier on, like you had to use, approved. Is that these toolbox, these AI tools that you're using, do they have to be approved by the government, or you can just pick anyone?
No, you can use whatever you want. We are in that in-between space where I'm going to assume that a lot of third-level educators are at the moment, that we don't have a really strong legal policy to navigate this space. Now, I think it has to come because we need a parameter to work with.
That's right.
Because at the moment, we don't have one.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Turnitin, which is, I don't know if the software
Yes,
they
we
use.
have
Similar,
Turnitin too. Yes.
they have said, I think, and it could be currently a totally evolving situation, but legally they cannot stand over at the moment whether something was AI output or not. So that's a real in-between space for students in terms of, I now can recognise patterns and I can see things, and I know that this was probably an AI output, but the ramifications for me to come back to the students and say, I don't really have it. Now, one thing that is actually quite clever is, you know, the way sometimes ChatGPT can generate a document or generate a PowerPoint presentation for you, that's in the metadata. So if you go in and look at when the document was created, you can probably tell from that it was an AI generated output. Yeah, now there is a way around that, you just copy and paste into the document that you start. So
that's right.
I can detect some things, but not everything. And there is a loop here where they can probably get through the net in terms of submitting something that's not originally their own work.
So for the community that you work with, the kids that you work with, and for you, what are the tensions? Now we're using all of this within the context of drama education. What are the tensions for you and maybe for them also?
So one thing that definitely came out of the survey responses and from post-workshop reflections with the students in the class was that they do think, and I would tend to agree with them, that it is a fantastic brainstorming tool. And it is great for trying to get ideas off the ground and to start the process. But AI won't give them the finished product.
Right.
The human input is really needed for cultural stuff, for nuances, for colloquialisms, for knowing the age group that they're trying to target and all that kind of stuff. I think they're very quick to say that AI couldn't write a script for a specific age group. It just wasn't able to do that. It was also making up stuff on the strands in our curriculum that don't exist. So it was just picking stuff out of the air that wasn't true or wasn't the correct contents. So students did reflect and learn that, you know, it's not completely dependable, but they did like it as a brainstorming tool. And once ChatGPT gave them their idea, they then went off and they perfected their script and they edited their script and they honed it into what they wanted it to be for their puppet show. And I think the best part about this is at the end of the project, they all had to get up in class and perform their puppet show. So there was no AI there.
That's right.
And when they were up performing their puppet show, that's where all the laughter and the collegiality and the fun and the connection and the relationships came from looking and responding to each other's work. And that was, you know, totally independent of a phone, a laptop, an AI tool. That was just humans in the room working together and performing. So AI was able to help them, but AI couldn't do the whole project. They physically had to come in as humans and manipulate the puppets and act the puppets and have a bit of fun and a bit of banter with the puppets.
Interesting. So I'm hearing there has to be a collaboration between AI and people. We have to know what that is, what are AI's limits, and what are the things that AI can do and the things that it cannot do, and when do we step in and all that. For you as a researcher, what has this research taught you? What are the things you want to share in terms of your own research, your discovery, and the findings of this research that you find fascinating, for lack of a better word?
So I think it's really interesting to look at the space from an ethical perspective. I think that's the most important thing we have to hone in with our students in terms of what can you use this for and what can you not use this for. I've seen in some things on websites now you have to tick whether you used AI or not.
Yes.
So the responsibility is on the person to declare that they used AI. So a conversation with students around declaration and being open and being ethical about it, I think, is really important. I think that to tell them or to talk with them or discuss them using it for brainstorming or starting projects and starting activities, that's probably a really safe space. But a fully generated output from AI is not a safe space and it's not ethical. And if you think about when you engage in a third level institution and you're looking to get a degree or a postgrad or whatever it is, the point of being there is to learn. And if you're going to output all of your work through an AI tool, what have you learned? How did you upskill? How did you develop new knowledge? How did you change your way of thinking? How are you now walking out of this institution with new knowledge and skills to go and do a job?
That's right.
So I think, that's really important to have that discussion with them. It's like, you're here to learn, and there's people here with knowledge and skills to teach you. So, be open, take the learning, use the tools in an assistive way that are available to you, but you need to still be a critical thinker. You need to have an individual mind, you need original thought, you need to not become mush in your brain because you develop too much or you rely too much on AI tools. So I think a serious person engaged in their education will take that on board as in, like, I'm here to be a skillful, knowledgeable person, and I can't rely on things like ChatGPT for everything.
The last question I'll ask here, hopefully I'm not stretching it too much. What's the implication of your research on curriculum development for your country? Like, I think that the work that you're doing around AI-generated content, and you're connecting that to drama, through drama, you're looking into curriculum and all of that. What's the implication of that for the curriculum? What are the things that you hope that the curriculum might need to consider if they have not?
So we are entering the space of a revised curriculum in Ireland, and it's just currently being published. And we had a curriculum in Ireland that was the 99 curriculum, and it very much focused on process drama. So exploring things through drama and learning in that kind of medium. The new curriculum looks at children as art makers and the aesthetics of drama and the art form of drama, and it's going to be an integrated art space for the junior end of primary schools and then back into their individual subjects for the senior end of primary schools. So this project was really focusing on children as art makers, and the students and the lecturers had to go and perform the art. So they had to engage in activities at the start where they walked around and talked to each other's puppets and gave their puppet a role, a character, a name, all that stuff. None of that had anything to do with AI. We wanted to script quickly, so we used AI to get some kind of a script idea, but they then had to go and refine it and shape it, and then they had to go and perform it. So for me, from the curriculum side of it, it was all about performance in a rehearsed way. So AI was a very small part of the bigger picture, was to get them to get up and perform the puppet show. And I think a lot of the time as well, for teachers who students come into initial teacher education, on the primary school curriculum in Ireland, you teach 11 subjects. So I think the highlight reel for some students could be English, Irish, maths, the main academic subject. We don't always think about art, drama, music as having a place really on the curriculum. So when they come into those artistic subjects, sometimes they can be shy. They might be very motivated to engage in a workshop in a practical manner. They might have come from a lecture where they sat and listened to philosophy or history of education for an hour, and then they walk into my drama space and I'm like, right lads, no chairs, let's get up and chat. And some people aren't comfortable with that. So I'm constantly trying to get over the barrier of getting comfortable in my space. So when I said to them, we're going to put on puppet shows, there was a little bit of excitement, but it was mostly like, oh God, am I too tired for this? And then I said, but we're going to get ChatGPT to write a script. They were like, cool, I'm on board, let's do it, because suddenly the project became more accessible. So it gave us accessibility to what I wanted, which was the end product of every student get up and put on a puppet show, which they did at the end, but they were happy that they got to do the quick way around it because ChatGPT gave them the brainstorm of the start or the idea at the start. It was easier then to get it off the ground instead of starting the project from the start and working the whole way through. So it made things a little bit quicker, but they still were art makers at the end, which is what my focus was in terms of the new curriculum.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Laura. We've been talking to Dr. Laura McEntee and from the University of Limerick.
Yeah.
And then really speaking about AI-generated content and its exploration as it concerns drama education within the context of Ireland. Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Taiwo Afolabi signing out.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Glocal Voices, the official podcast of the Centre for Socially Engaged Theatre at the University of Regina. For more details about the centre, visit www.cset.ca.